He traveled too far from his home to find his path to complete his journey. He stood aside from sea where he looked upon the skies and to meet his destiny. At least it is true that man has no control even over his own will.
Is this where my journey ends? Is this where my fathers called me? The town which I've always dreamed of. The land where Aldebaran twinkles among the trees. I hear it is a time of Yuletide, that man called Christmas, the festival that is older than Bethlehem and Babylon, older than Memphis and mankind. My people had lived in this ancient town and kept the festival at a time when it was forbidden. They had commanded their sons to keep the festival once every century so that the memory must not be forgotten. My people were old, older than this 300 years old town. Yet they were strange, as they had come from the opiate gardens of the south and spoke in a language that was different from the blue-eyed fishermen.
The man continued his journey and looked to King's Spot, the ancient city, stuck with its veins, bridges, graveyards, endless labyrinths of steep, narrow, crooked streets, and a dingy church crowned central peak.
Strange! No voices, no cheerful sound of the festival. It seems these old Puritan people have Christmas custom different from what is known to me, full of silent prayers. Glad I have seen the map of this town at least. I know where to find the home of my people. Hmm, I was told that I will be known and welcome, but all I could see were deserted street and closed windows. According to map, I need to cross back street to Circle Court and cross the fresh snow to where Green Lane leads off behind the market house. The old maps still hold good, as I had no trouble reaching through, though it lied about the trolleys. I don't see any wires, or maybe they are hidden by snow, which hid the footsteps too.
The man stopped as he knew he reached the end of his path, the seventh house on the left in Green Lane that had an ancient peaked roof and extend to a second story, all built before 1650.
Why am I nervous? Is this the strangeness of my heritage, or the airiness of this evening, or the silence of this ancient town?
The door opened. The man couldn't hear any footsteps. He was welcomed by someone who was gowned, a slippered old man who had a bland face and made signs that he was dumb. He wrote a quaint and ancient welcome with the stylus and wax tablet he carried. The man could only look at his blank face as he entered the house.
That's quite a room you got here. With these dim light candles, chiasmic fireplace, and the 17th century furniture, I couldn't stop to notice his floppy hands, which are curiously gloved. Why do I have this fear again? I see this lady who is busy spinning the wheel, wearing a loose wrapper and bonnet despite the festive season. There seems to be endless moisture in this room. This hallowing emptiness is taking over me. This fear is going uncontrollable. His face, his eyes never moved, and the skin was too like wax. I'm sure it was not a face at all, but a fiendishly cunning mask.
Before the man could do anything to his mysterious hosts, wrote genially on the tablet and told him that he must wait a while before he could be led to the place of the festival and pointed him to sit on the chair.
This room is filled with a pile of books, which looks quite old and seems to have fungus on it. Since the old man has left, I should better check these books. Morris's Wild Marvels of Science, the terrible Sarasmus Triumphus of Joseph Granville, and the shocking Diamantretia of Regimus, which was printed at Lyons. And this is the worst of all, the unmentionable Necronomicon, which was written by the mad Arab Abdul Al-Hazard in Olius Borromeus' forbidden Latin translation. This is a book which I have never seen, but of which I have heard whispers by monstrous fiends. Everything is weird since I came to this town. The empty streets, the fear in the environment. No one speaks to me, yet these chilling winds haunt me. Seems everything is stuck in time here. This room, the books, everything is so strange here. My curiosity got best of me as I tried to read Necronomicon. These words are the words of the devil, a thought and legend, too hideous for sanity or consciousness.
The man continued to read and didn't stop. He was so immersed in its reading that he couldn't feel the presence of his hosts and the strike of the clock, only to be disturbed by the old man who sat down on the very bench.
He has changed his attire. Now he's wearing boots and an antique costume. He seems a little nervous. Is it because of the book I'm holding? He rises now. As the clock strikes 11, he's going to that chest in the corner. He gets these two hooded cloaks. One he wears for himself, and the other he grabs for the old woman. The old woman leaves her spinning as they head for the outer door. The old man picks up the very book I was reading as he beckons me by unmoving that face or mask. I follow them as I look again to that empty ancient town. Its tortuous network went out as the light in the curtained window disappeared, one by one, and the dog stargazes the cloaked figures who pose silently from every doorway and are gathering to form monstrous processions. I continue to follow my voiceless guides as I see the empty lanes for decaying houses overlap and crumble together and churchyard covered in lanterns.
The man was jolted with elbows that were soft and pressed by abnormally pulpy chests, and never saw any face or heard any word, and saw all the travellers converging in the centre of the town as they gathered at a great white church, which the man saw from the road's crest.
I see this open space around the church, a churchyard with special shafts, and this fires is hovering above the tombs with no signs of shadows. Past the churchyard, I see nothing but a secret passageway. Lanterns pave the way. I see the crowd slipping into the church. I waited and stood aside. My sinister host tries to pull me in, but I'm determined to be last.
The man waited for his host to go, then he walks towards the temple of unknown darkness, turns one last time to look at the outside. All he could see is the town turn invisible and snowball, no marks of passing feet, not even his.
The church is lighted by the lanterns. I cannot see figures which enter the church. They have gone up to the aisle between the high white pews and the trapdoors. I follow them. They are going into the tomb, following the spiral staircase. The walls and steps are changing with these horrible intervals. The horror is growing over me. I hear no footsteps, no sounds. The silence and darkness are taking over me. All I could smell is decay and feel the fear hovering over me.
The man couldn't get a hold of himself as he descended the path of his hosts. He knew that he is beneath King's Pot and is surrounded with subterraneous evil.
I see this lurid light faintly piercing through this darkness and hear the lapping of sunless waters. I wish no forefather had summoned me for this ride. As the passage grows wider, I hear another sound, the sound of a flute, a feeble flute. I am in this inner world now, a world of vast fungus and greenish flames where the wide, oily river flows to join the blackish gulfs of the immemorial ocean. I look at the titan toadstool, the fire and slimy water. The cloaked figure shape a semicircle. It was Yule right, older than man and fated to survive him. The primal rite of the solstice and spring's promise beyond the snow. The rite of fire and evergreen light and music. And in the Stygian grotto, I saw them do the rite and adore the sick pillar of flame and throw into the water handful gawked out of the vicious vegetation which glittered green in the chlorotic glare.
The man couldn't believe his eyes and he witnessed the Yule rite, but what frightened him the most was that no flame displayed shadow, as if the only thing it flamed was death and corruption.
My host points directly beside me to that hideous flames and motion to the semicircle. They bow to the very work of the devil, Necronomicon, which my host holds above his head. I share the respect as it was my forefather who summoned me to this festival. Then the old man gives a signal to the partially visible flute player, who then changes his note to a scarce louder note as I sink nearly to the wretched earth, transfixed with the dread of the mad space within the stars. That note is rhythmically summoning a horde of tame, trained, hybrid winged things that no sound eye can ever grasp, or no sound brain can remember. They are not altogether crows, nor moles, nor buzzards, nor ants, not vampire bats, nor decomposed human beings, but something I cannot and must not recall.
The man watches in horror when they flop limply along with their half-webbed feet and half with their membranous wings. And as they reach the celebrants, he sees that The cold figures are mounting them and riding off one by one. Crossing that unlighted river went into the galleries of panic, and as the old man directs the man to mount it.
I won't do it. I won't do it. Even the old lady is gone. He's only here as he wants me to join them. He's standing there as he takes off his tablet and writes that he is truly the heir of my fathers who founded this old worship. He then lifts the robe and shows me his ancient hand, where I see a sealed ring, a watch, both which belongs to my family. He wants to prove his ties, but it's all worthless because I know from the old papers that that watch had been buried with my great-great-great-grandfather in 1698.
The old man downed his hood again and showed a familiar resemblance in his face. The man shivered as he was sure the face was a devilish waxen mask. He saw the restlessness in the flopping animals and the old man. When one of the things started to edge away, the old man turned quickly to stop it. His motion was so fast that it dislodged the waxen mask from what should have been his head. It shook man in such a horror that he fell from the staircase into the oily underground river.
So you are awake. Good. Well, I know you have a lot of questions, so where do we begin?
Where am I?
At the hospital, you were rescued all frozen from Kingsport Harbor, where you miraculously survived by clinging to the drifting spar.
Survived?
Yeah, you took the wrong fork of the hill road the night before and fallen over the cliffs at Orange Point.
Everything is wrong. The ancient buildings are gone. The sound of trolley, motors, they are saying it's Kingsport, and I can't deny it. But everything is wrong. Where is this hospital?
Oh, it's near the old churchyard on Central Hill.
The man went irrational after hearing this. He was transferred to St. Mary's Hospital in Arkham for better care. It seemed that he enjoyed this new place. He was informed that he had signs of psychosis, for which he agreed. The broad-minded doctors carefully provided him with a sheltered copy of Al-Hajj's objectionable Necronomicon from the library of Miskatonic University. He was ready to reread the lines written by a mad Arab and dared to quote only one paragraph. The northernmost caverns, wrote the mad Arab, are not for the fathoming of eyes that see, for their marvels are strange and terrific. Curse the ground where dead thoughts live new and oddly potted, and evil the mind that is held by no head. Wisely did Scabau say that happy is the tomb where no wizard hath lain, and happy the town at night whose wizards are all ashes. For it is of the old rumour that the soul of the devil bought hits not from his charnel clay, but fat, and instructs the very worm that gnaws, till out of corruption horrid life springs, and the dull scavengers of earth wax crafty to vex it, and swell monstrous to plague it. Great holes sacredly are digged, where earth pours ought to suffix, and things have learned to walk that ought to crawl.